there's a couple of trends that have emerged in the last year or so that are worth considering. I think your attendees at the conference will probably hear more about these. Firstly is this shift, this arguable shift from big data to small and wide data. And that's where we talk about, instead of having big data, which of course is characterized by its volume, its velocity, and its variety, and tends to be unstructured data, though not uniquely, but huge amounts of data moving very fast and from multiple different types of sources, which have a risk of swamping an organization. I think that's one of the main criticisms of big data, where it's hard to harness, it's hard to make sense of. There's an argument that says actually what organizations really need is small and wide data. And that is the width to look at multiple data sources, but the smallness, if you like, small size, to allow you to focus on something that's really important to the business. So whereas big data might allow you to say, hey, we're looking at a forest, wide data would select which trees in the forest you're looking at, and small data would help you concentrate on the shape of the leaves on those trees. And of course, in business terms, what that really is talking about is focusing down to something that really matters to the business, something that they can use and isn't overpowering for a human to engage in this process. So rather than human to computer, it kind of enables human to human relationships. So that's one of the trends I think we're seeing in big data and analytics. And the other one is this concept of data fabric. And data fabric is where you have a much closer integration of data, of multiple data sources, and of the compute and storage power required to work all of those individual sources so that they don't become silos and they are ingested and brought together in a meaningful manner at a time that it matters, in a timely fashion for the business, rather than waiting ages for that data to arrive. So those are probably pretty oversimplified descriptions of two new trends, data fabric and small and wide data. So let me talk about investment first. Well, there's two flavors of investment I think that are really important to acknowledge. One, of course, is the financial investment. We are in businesses, of course, and the idea is to use data and analytics as multipliers of your business. So you expect a certain multiplied return on investment from the amount of money you spend on running data for the organization. And typically that manifests itself as the cost of software licenses, access, say, to a big data platform and to the tools you need, but also the cost of the people and the skill sets of those people. And therefore there are investment choices associated, whether you have those people as employees, permanent employees, whether you onshore or offshore them, or whether indeed you outsource. And each of those approaches would have an advantage or disadvantage. So there's a financial investment, and doing it right isn't cheap because the skills are still relatively rare. And if you're serious about generating insights from data that will allow you to unlock value, then there's an investment to be made upstream. That's the first part of an investment. I think what's really important is to understand the second, cultural and behavioral investment that's required. And this, frankly, is much harder to get over than, can I have some more dollars, please? And the cultural and behavioral investment is, look, it's all well and good having, let's call it a data team that surfaces insights that are of use to the business. What is the business's reflex to harness those into their routine operations, into their business as usual, to use those insights as a reflex rather than an afterthought, to drive great decisions that unlock value in a timely manner, to allow the business to be proactive and get ahead of the game rather than reactive to things that have already happened. And depending on the position of maturity of any given organization will dictate whether or not those cultural reflexes are already there, whether they are being learnt, or whether, frankly, they feel very alien. But there's certainly an investment in behaviors and culture that's required to go with a dollar investment. Now, is that enough? Depends on the organization you work for and clearly how much is being invested in. What I can say about Chalhoub Group is taking being a data-driven group really seriously. The board at Chalhoub is putting its money where its mouth is, which we welcome. And behaviors are changing over time as people see the value in what they're getting out of data and the insights they get from data. So that's the point about investment. Second, about innovation. Wow, so many innovations that we would be looking forward to. On our level of maturity, and it's a growing level of maturity, we're still enthused by innovations that we can bring to bear ourselves associated with harnessing machine learning and sort of hardcore data science, although not yet necessarily artificial intelligence. So we're really enthused by the innovations that will come with being able to predict better our customer behaviors and our customer propensity to buy, for instance, in the luxury retail space. Innovations associated with recommending and personalizing for our customers, because what we in Chalhoub Group are trying to do is really delight our customers wherever we find them, whether that's in a physical store or online or through an app. And in all of those occasions, whichever channel you're using, clearly we want to be able to delight our customers, and understanding their preferences and what they seek to get out of luxury is an important part of that. And then being able to speak to them in a language they understand and about things that they're already interested in is a really important point. So those are the innovations, which for some people might sound super basic, and that's fine. For our level of maturity, they're definitely innovations on our immediate horizon. The how is one thing, the whether or not they do is another thing. And of course, it's hugely important to the organization and its reputation that they do, because our customers trust us with their data. And it's therefore very important for us to take that trust seriously and to make sure that when we're working with customers' data, particularly with personal data, of course, we treat it with respect. We secure it, and we make sure that it's only used for a legitimate business purpose, which is typically where there's a sensible value exchange between the business and the customer. And I've already spoken about personalization and recommendation as a good example of why you would wish to have customer data, and the customer would be happy for you to have their data with consent, with informed consent. So it's really important that organizations do reflect the regulations in force. Now, clearly, the de facto standards for regulations are typically GDPR type regulations, or the Californian laws, those kind of regulations. But in this region, of course, the UAE and the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia are both growing their own regulation sets, which are similar to GDPR, but have certain differences, particularly around sovereignty of data and the deadlines or thresholds to which people have to respond to, say, a subject access request. And whilst those laws aren't yet enabled, or put in place, they're on their way. And I think it's really important that organizations do respond to that for the right reasons. And I guess the final point about why we should respond to these regulations, not just because they're law, they make great business sense. Looking after our customers' data is a reflection of our respect for our customers and the trust they can have in us handling their data. And at any stage, if we lose that trust, then we lose their custom and we lose our reputation too. So there's a really good business reason why we would want to adopt these regulations as we do, the ones that are in place, and make sure that we respect them. Now, how we do that, of course, is a combination of security measures and confidentiality measures. In data terms, it's about access control to make sure only those people who really should have access to certain data can do. It's to make sure that all those good basics are in place and we have full understanding and visibility of the data we hold and a legitimate reason to hold it. And we don't hold it for a moment longer than we need it. And that all boils down to really good data governance to generate trust and confidence in our data and the way we handle it. Hi, I'm Tim Carmichael, and I'm really excited to be speaking at the Velocity Data and Analytics Summit next month in May, on the 17th and 18th of May, here in Dubai at the Conrad Dubai.